Gu Zhanlin exclaimed. Who is he? Wan Sansi frowned. I don't know his name. I only know that this person is the source of this disaster. He and a dozen of his subordinates are all from Ghost Ride. Gu Zhanlin explained, because of him, our great general was severely injured by a sneak attack. Marshal Sage Yu's seals were also broken by him and his men. As a result, more than 1,000 Bloodseeker beasts were revived and turned into a disaster. We closed the underground palace. We thought that these people had already been killed by the Bloodseeker beasts. To think this leader had actually broken the underground palace and escaped. Right, this fellow is a first-grade expert. First grade? Wan Sansi murmured. Even if this person is first grade, he must die. With that, his figure flashed and he flew out. Swoosh! Swoosh! Xiao Yuanfang and Zhou Ling tacitly followed. The three of them tore through the air and blocked the lanky man's path. As a first-grade expert, it was not surprising that the tall and thin man could kill his way out of a group of thousands of Bloodseeker beasts. Breaking through the ceiling of the underground palace and creating a hole was also within the acceptable range. At this moment, the tall and thin man appeared to be in an extremely sorry state. His hair was disheveled, his clothes were torn, and his body was covered in blood. One of his arms seemed to have been crippled as it hung limply. Wan Sansi, Xiao Yuanfang, and Zhou Ling appeared and blocked his way. The tall and thin man with a slightly dispirited aura immediately erupted. Without a word, he controlled his martial art true intent, the saber with a long handle, and slashed in the air. Boom! 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 An intense explosion echoed in the sky. As soon as the lanky man made a move, Wan Sansi, Xiao Yuanfang, and Zhou Ling decisively launched a counterattack. Wan Sansi's martial art true intent was very special. It was a small hill about 30 meters tall. As soon as it appeared, it fell from above the lanky man's head, releasing a terrifying suppressive force. The saber energy released out by man only stirred up a small ripple before it was destructively crushed. But he still blocked it. The tall and thin man with wounds on his chest and back emitted a circle of light. An invisible force blocked the suppression of the mountain. Swish! However, a fiery red chain pierced through the air and struck the man. This was Xiao Yuanfang's martial art true intent, a flaming chain. The burning chain carrying a heavy force smashed into a circle of light around the tall and thin man's body, causing sparks to burst out. He retreated uncontrollably. However, he only took half a step back before he was forced to the ground by the martial art true intent of the hill above him. 3 seconds before landing, he was swept by a dense rain of swords. This was Zhou Ling's attack. Her martial art true intent was 2 swords, and the weapons in her hands were also 2 swords. It was equivalent to the perfect fusion of martial art true intent and the spirit weapon in her hands. The power unleashed would naturally be even stronger. Due to the rain of swords, a stretch of holes appeared on glow on the surface of the man's body. 3 of the sword energies successfully tore through the light barrier and penetrated his body, causing blood to flow from the corners of his mouth and his face to turn increasingly pale. Even so, the lanky man remained tenaciously alive after crashing into the ground and creating a huge pit. With a loud roar, his long-handled saber suddenly enlarged. Then, it spun rapidly, tore through the air, and danced around the lanky man. The saber energy released formed a barrier that protected the lanky man as he flew into the air. He wants to escape. Bu Qin growled, a first-grade martial artist is just this troublesome. You said it yourself that he's a first-grade martial artist. How could he submit so easily? Gu Zhanlin continued in a deep voice. A first-grade martial artist's physical body and soul are very powerful. If you want to kill him, you have to shatter them at the same time. Can they do it? Asked Lu Wuchang in a low voice. We'll know soon enough, said Huang Xinghai, narrowing his eyes. Su Jingxing remained silent. Indeed, they would soon know. However, the might of a first-grade martial artist had also broadened Su Jingxing's horizons. Ons. The tall and thin man had already suffered heavy injuries in the underground palace. Now that he was surrounded and attacked by Wan Sansi, Xiao Yuanfang, and Zhou Leng, even though he was at a disadvantage, he was still undefeated. He retreated as he fought, trying to escape. Unfortunately, Wan Sansi, Xiao Yuanfang, and Zhou Leng were not ordinary second-grade martial artists. Before sealing themselves, they were generals leading troops into battle. Their aura, true essence, and martial art true intent were all very powerful. However, due to the long period of hibernation, their strength had not fully recovered so quickly. The goal of encircling the lanky man was firstly to prove their name, and secondly, to move around and speed up their recovery. Therefore, in the face of the tall and thin man's escape, Wan Sansi, Xiao Yuanfang, and Zhou Leng attacked mercilessly. They struck with all their might, mobilized their true essence, and controlled their martial art true intents. In the sky, shockwaves, explosions, and loud noises sounded endlessly. During this process, because a hole had been created, the roars of the blood-seeker beasts in the underground palace that struck straight to the spread outside, creating ripples in the air. The flying lions, who were guarding the mountain paths, forks in the roads, and peaks around the valley, as well as Li Linzhou, Han Zong, Li Chuanjun, and the others, all felt this terrifying sound wave attack that targeted the soul for the first time. Those who were not in the fourth grade could not resist for more than a few seconds. Bang! 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 Roar! A deafening roar resounded through the air along with the sound of collision. The collapsed ground shook violently, extending all the way to the other mountains. Damn the members of Ghost Ride! They made a hole, lowering the defense of the underground palace with that. In at most half an hour, the blood-seeker beasts will break through the seal and come outside. Lu Wuchang couldn't help but curse. Prepare to make a move. Gu Zhanlin sighed. I wonder how long it will take for the general to retrieve the rare treasure and complete the array formation. They're already back. Su Jingxing looked into the distance. In the distant horizon, a row of 12 fighter planes were flying towards them at their fastest speed. Behind the fighter jets, there were also a dozen armed helicopters and transport planes flying quickly. Boom! Boom! A sonic boom reverberated through the air. The 12 fighter planes were the first to arrive and circled around the valley. The armed helicopters lowered their altitudes and sealed off the exit of the valley. As soon as the transport planes arrived above the valley, the cabin door opened and figures jumped out. Experts from the prefecture army. Their lowest realm was 4th grade, and the highest realm was 2nd grade. Under Zhao Fengxian's orders, apart from some who stayed behind to guard the army base, more than half of the experts from the prefecture army arrived at the valley. They would work with the Flying Lion army to stop the blood-seeker beasts that were about to break through the underground palace. The appearance of fighter jets and helicopters caught the attention of more the Flying Lions. Such an item made of metal could actually carry so many people and fly in the sky. How was that done? The ancient mechanisms also included wooden horses and wooden birds flying in the air. However, the most important thing was still the array patterns. However, they could clearly sense that none of the metal objects in front of them leaked any energy fluctuations. So, how were they flying? While they were feeling curious. Boom! A loud explosion suddenly erupted. The tightly shut door of the underground palace finally shattered. The first blood-seeker beast charged to the surface with a roar. Roar! A deafening beast roar resounded through the sky and ground. The materialized sound wave spread and swept through the entire valley. Martial artists below the 4th grade felt a stabbing pain in their minds as the world in their vision spun. Roar! Snarls filled the air. The first blood-seeker beast leaped up and moved at high speed, rushing out of the valley. Buzz! The air vibrated as a giant palm imprint condensed in the air. It descended from the sky and suppressed the blood-seeker beasts. It sprawled on the ground and struggled with all its might. Roar! Roar! An indignant roar resounded through the valley. The blood-seeker beasts snarled repeatedly as it began to struggle, trying in vain to break free from the suppression. Roar! Roar! Inside the broken door of the underground palace, the second, third, fourth. In the blink of an eye, dozens of blood-seeker beasts rushed out of the underground palace. Subsequently, an endless stream of blood-seeker beasts roared and reappeared under the light of day. Get to work. Gu Zhanlin's voice wrapped in his true energy reverberated through the entire venue. Everyone, attack. Try not to kill the blood-seeker beasts if you can. The death of one blood-seeker beasts would strengthen several blood-seeker beasts. The more dead blood-seeker beasts, the faster the blood-seeker beasts around them would get strengthened. For this reason, the people scattered around the valley focused on intercepting and beating back. It would be best if they could suppress the beasts and confine them on the ground, rendering them immobile for the time being. Taking advantage of this time, Zhao Fengxian, who had returned on a plane, met up with Pu Mingyue and handed over a wood elemental treasure. With the treasure in hand, Pu Mingyue immediately set about completing setup of the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array. Only if the array formation was successful could it temporarily relieve the pressure from the blood-seeker beast's outward charge. Like the others, Su Jingxing shifted quickly in the air, occasionally repelling the blood-seeker beasts that were charging towards the periphery of the valley. Be it the air-splitting palm or the 100 steps raining fist, their suppression effects were not strong, but the offensive power was sufficient. Once he struck the blood-seeker beasts, he would only destroy them. It would be best if the blood-seeker beasts were kept alive. Therefore, Su Jingxing had been beating them back and only injured them if he really had to. For example, breaking their limbs and making them howl angrily on the ground. The others did the same. However, there were always exceptions. One after another, the blood-seeker beasts died under the attacks. Blood-seeker mutated beast corpse discovered. Would you like to extract it? Yes. Su Jingxing responded inwardly, but his expression remained unchanged. Every blood-seeker beast was a mutated beast. Once they died, he would naturally extract cards. This was also Su Jingxing's unique gain. Unlike the others, who were only getting exhausted. Their true essence, even if consumed slowly, would still be depleted quickly when facing hundreds of blood-seeker beasts. Card +5. Card +6. The notifications flashed quickly, and the true energy cultivation that Su Jingxing circulated slowly decreased. The others expending their true energy, and so was Su Jingxing. Amidst the chaos, a loud bang suddenly came from the northeast corner of the valley. Boom! The deafening bang spread in all directions. A terrifying shockwave swept through the air and covered the ground. Everywhere it passed, many people were pushed back or left half-kneeling on the ground. Card +L. A notification flashed through Su Jingxing's mind. He looked at the northeastern corner of the sky and saw Wan Sansi, Xiao Yuanfang, and Zhou Leng returning to the valley to join the team that was intercepting the blood-seeker beasts. The tall and thin man who was besieged by them, the leader of the ghost ride this time, was nowhere to be seen. Associating this with the card he had extracted and the terrifying shockwave, it was obvious that the tall and thin man had been killed. Wan Sansi, Xiao Yuanfang, and Zhou Leng had succeeded. They didn't even leave a corpse behind. They simply blew it up, leaving no loose ends. A first-grade martial artist was indeed powerful, but he first suffered the siege of the blood-seeker beasts, then rushed out of the underground palace in a sorry state. Finally, he was encircled by 3 second-grade martial artists. The tall and thin man's death was within expectations. Only this outcome came a little too fast. In the eyes of many, the lanky man could at least hold on for an hour or two, or even successfully escape. Now that he was dead, they couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Of course, not many people had the time to sigh, and not for long. Everyone tossed the tall and thin man to the back of their minds and returned to intercepting, beating back, suppressing, and wounding the bloodseeker beasts. Roar! Roar! A deafening roar accompanied by a terrifying sound wave resounded through the sky and earth. The shock waves released by the roars of hundreds or thousands of bloodseeker beasts from time to time gave even Su Jingxing a slight headache. Apart from Su Jingxing and a few others who had the ability of mental defense, the others had to simply withstand this soul-piercing sound wave. Su Jingxing had the heaven-trampling elephant. The martial art true intent of Zhao Fengxian, Pu Mingyue, and the others were strong enough. This was why they could defend against external mental attacks and block most of them. Clenching their teeth, they resisted the stabbing pain and stopped the bloodseeker beasts from rushing out of the valley. Outside the valley, the prefecture army's military helicopters were equipped with high-speed machine guns. They stopped in midair and fired at the lone bloodseeker beasts that ran out of the valley from time to time. The fighter jets in the sky roared and locked onto the lucky ones who had escaped from under the high-speed machine guns into the woods. They fired their shells, either sending them flying, getting injured or killed. At this moment, there was no time to care about anything else. Casualties were unavoidable. Among the intercepting teams, there were people who with exhausted true energy who were clawed and bitten to death by the bloodseeker beasts from time to time. The amount of bloodseeker essence energy that the bloodseeker essence energy turned into after death gradually increased, and was absorbed by the other bloodseeker essence energy, making them stronger. Finally, the first beast king was born. Roar! A terrifying roar that resounded through the sky came from a corner of the chaotic valley. A thick blood-colored pillar of light accompanied with a roar charged into the sky. A boundless, ferocious, and bloodthirsty might swept out in all directions. Under the stimulation, the excited roars of all the bloodseeker beasts grew louder and louder. Flew! The 10-meter-tall bloodseeker beast king stepped on the ground and soared into the sky. Its hideous mouth opened and released a frightening sound wave. Roar! Bang! An abrupt, dull thud interrupted the bloodseeker beast king's sound wave attack. Su Jingxing threw a punch through the air. The silvery black fist imprint swooped down at high speed and struck the bloodseeker beast king. The light membrane on the body of this enormous mutated beast flickered as it retreated repeatedly. After steadying itself, its bloodthirsty eyes pierced through the air and locked onto Su Jingxing. The next second, bam! With an explosion, the bloodseeker beast king's massive body disappeared. Danger! Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat. He decisively executed the 36 alterations of 1,000 transformations, leaving behind a few true energy manifestations to attract the bloodseeker beast king. His main body landed on the ground and repelled a bloodseeker beast. Rip! Boom! Sure enough, a loud bang came from the air above him. The bloodseeker beast king that disappeared appeared where Su Jingxing originally was and tore apart his true energy clone. In the next second, it disappeared again and pounced at Su Jingxing. Roar! As Su Jingxing dodged again, he released the Sisui Horn Dragon to surround his body to guard against the bloodseeker beast king's attacks. Unexpectedly, as soon as the Sisui Horn Dragon appeared, Wan Sansi, Xiao Yuanfang, Zhou Leng, and the other 5 third-grade experts of the Flying Lion Army all shifted their gaze to Su Jingxing and became wide-eyed. Fast. Too fast. The speed at which the Bloodseeker Beast King that was born after absorbing enough Bloodseeker essence energy was inconceivably fast. It was completely teleporting. At this speed, only Su Jingxing could constantly dodge a few seconds ahead of time as he was targeted. Had it been anyone else, it would have caught up to them in a few moves and they would have no choice but to fight it head-on. In terms of physical strength and close combat ability, no one present except Zhao Fengxian and Su Jingxing could resist the Bloodseeker Beast King to the end. Zhao Fengxian relied on his realm, while Su Jingxing relied on his transcendent body. However, Zhao Fengxian was severely injured and poisoned. Su Jingxing didn't want to expose his transcendent body. At the very least, he didn't want to be exposed so soon. If I still can't do anything to the Bloodseeker Beast King at the very end, then I'll expose myself. Buzz! The air trembled. A 30-meter-tall mountain descended from the sky. The strange thing was that there was no terrifying suppression that was as heavy as a mountain. Su Jingxing was feeling puzzled when he suddenly heard a low voice by his ear. Hold on. Go now. Swish. Su Jingxing left behind a manifestation of true energy to attract the Bloodseeker Beast King, who had locked onto him, and his main body fled far away. Roar. The Bloodseeker Beast King, which had disappeared and reappeared again, tore apart his true energy manifestation and continued its pursuit. However, right at this moment, the mountain floating in the air suddenly erupted with light and released a terrifying suppression, holding the Bloodseeker Beast King in its original position and immobilizing it. The frightening pressure firmly enveloped the Bloodseeker Beast King. Amidst the roars of this massive mutated beast, the mountain in the air fell, pushing the Bloodseeker Beast King into the ground at 0 distance. Before landing, 2 flaming chains pierced through the air. One wrapped around the Bloodseeker Beast King's limbs, binding it, and the other wrapped around its mouth, silencing it. Boom! With a loud bang, the immobile Bloodseeker Beast King who couldn't open its mouth crashed into the collapsed pit, causing the ground to shake. Thank you for your help. Su Jingxing soared into the air and cupped his fists in thanks to Wan Sansi and Xiao Yuanfang. The ones who had helped him were Wan Sansi and Xiao Yuanfang. One was the martial art true intent of a mountain, and the other was the martial art true intent of a flaming chain. With tacit cooperation, they successfully trapped the Bloodseeker Beast King. Of course, such a trap was only temporary. To completely take care of it, they would have to rely on Pu Mingyue's 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array. May I ask how you condensed your martial art true intent? Faced with Su Jingxing's gratitude, Wan Sansi asked in a low voice with a grim expression. Martial art true intent? The Sisui Horned Dragon? That's right, these people were Lu Chenglong's subordinates when he was alive. When they see the same martial art true intent as what Lu Chenglong had, they would naturally be curious and would ask about it. This brother Li's martial art true intent wasn't condensed by himself. Instead, it was inherited from the Rising Dragon Saber King. Laughter broke out all of a sudden. Lu Wuchang, who was not far away from Su Jingxing, happened to just beat back a Bloodseeker Beast King. He burst out laughing. You didn't hear wrong. Brother Li was very lucky to have entered the mausoleum of Prince Qin and obtained the treasures left behind by the Rising Dragon Saber King. All the treasures of the Rising Dragon Saber King are with him. TSK. Su Jingxing cursed inwardly. Lu Wuchang is sowing discord again. Looks like if I don't teach him a lesson, he won't remember. There are no burial treasures in the main mausoleum of our general. There are only his remains and his martial art true intent, the Sisui Horned Dragon that was separated from him. Xiao Yuanfang's calm voice sounded in the ears of many people present. Besides, entering the mausoleum isn't that easy, added Zhou Ling. Bu Qin, Gu Zhanlin, and the others were speechless. After all this, Su Jingxing had only obtained the martial art true intent of the Sisui Horned Dragon after entering the mausoleum of Prince Qin. The so-called treasures in the mausoleum of Prince Qin, treasures that could advance a person to the 3rd grade, was merely inheriting the Sisui Horned Dragon. Lu Wuchang, who had repelled 2 Bloodseeker beasts with his fan, was shocked and speechless. Gu Zhanlin, Bu Qin, and the others were more or less felt the same. They were initially envious of Su Jingxing, but now, they felt a little sympathetic. Zhou Ling had said that entering the mausoleum of Prince Qin was not easy and one had to pay a price. If he had Lu Chenglong's treasures as compensation, then paying a price was fine. However, there was only the Sisui horned dragon. He had made a loss no matter how they looked at it. In fact, if he had not extracted a transcendent body card from Lu Chenglong's corpse and an energy ball, Su Jingxing would truly have suffered a loss by agreeing to protect the Yu nation for 10 years. But how could Su Jingxing tell anyone about such gains? Xiao Yuanfang and Zhou Leng's words saved him trouble. After this matter was over, no one would be interested in the treasures in his hands anymore. Because it was simply PNLY, the martial art true intent of the Sisui horned dragon. The martial art true intent had already been inherited. Unless the person himself was willing to strip it away, others could not forcefully separate them. Therefore, while others were sighing, Su Jingxing was overjoyed. Everyone! The array formation has been set up. It will be activated in 3 breaths. Pu Mingyue's crisp voice suddenly sounded in the air above the valley. Please leave immediately. The countdown begins now. 3, 2, 1. Swoosh. 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 In the valley, in the sky and on the ground, everyone left the valley before the last second was counted. They either charged into the woods or soared into the sky. Buzz. A second after everyone left, the mountains around the valley suddenly shook. Swish. 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 8 bright pillars of light rose from the mountains and hills, reaching 100 meters into the sky. They blended together and bloomed into a giant lotus flower. Hoo! 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 Strong winds swirled and energy danced. The giant lotus slowly descended from the sky, releasing a translucent light screen that covered the entire valley. Only when it was about 20 meters away from the ground did the giant lotus stop and remained floating. The translucent light barrier continued to descend, going deep underground until it was 500 meters deep. Then, it blended together and completed the bottom. Looking down from the sky, the entire array formation was like a huge lotus flower growing among the few peaks. The mountain peaks were the lotus leaves, and the hundreds of blood-seeker beasts were lotus seeds. Bang! 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 One by one, the blood-seeker beasts crashed into the translucent light barrier. 8 trigrams emerged at the points of impact. All of the power dissipated amidst the swirling 8 trigrams without stirring up any ripples. Swish! Swish! Bang! Wan Sansi and Xiao Yuanfang controlled their martial art true intent to self-destruct at the same time and kill the Bloodseeker Beast King. Card +1. A notification flashed, and Su Jingxing calmly looked down at the ground. The Bloodseeker Beast King exploded into a cloud of Bloodseeker essence energy that was quickly absorbed by the other Bloodseeker beasts. Fortunately, these few Bloodseeker beasts had not reached the stage of transforming into Beast Kings. Amidst the roars, they quickly split up, either sprinting or jumping. They crashed into the translucent light barriers, producing 8 trigrams. Without the Bloodseeker Beast King, the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array would undoubtedly last longer. Whew! Finally done. Lu Wuchang landed on a mountain peak and leaned against a huge rock. He looked at the valley shrouded by the giant lotus and sighed from the bottom of his heart. That damn ghost ride almost caused a huge disaster. By the way, Head Mingyue, does this array formation seal off all entries and exits? More or less. More or less. What kind of answer was that? Don't tell me there are flaws in this array formation, asked Lu Wuchang nervously. It's not that bad. Pu Mingyue chuckled. What I mean is that the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array is just an array formation. Since it's an array formation, it can be broken. As long as someone can unlock it, they can freely enter and exit the valley. Of course, it won't be easy to do that. This formation has been extremely famous since 1,000 years ago. Even if an array formation grandmaster were to come, he wouldn't be able to break it easily. Firstly, I've fused it with the vital energy of the valley. Forcefully breaking the array formation will target the entire valley, and even the surrounding mountains. To break it, one has to succeed in one go. Even a first-grade martial artist cannot do this. Secondly, why did I ask to find a wood attribute treasure or spirit weapons to be the foundation of the array formation? It's because wood attribute treasures or spirit weapons can replenish the energy of the array formation. For example, every time these bloodseeker beasts collide with the barrier of this array formation, they will give some energy to the array formation. When this energy is absorbed back, it can limit the impact of the bloodseeker beast's attacks and quickly eliminate the destructive force. Mutually complementary and neutralizing. Lu Wuchang's eyes widened. Impressive, Head Mingyue. This 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array is impressive. It's indeed not bad. According to the rules of this cycle, wouldn't it be able to trap the blood-seeker beasts for life? Gu Zhanlin was pleasantly surprised. No, Pu Mingyue shook her head. Even the most powerful formations will gradually dissipate over time. Just like machines, they have to be maintained from time to time in order to last long. The same goes for the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array. As time passes, the effects of the outside world will intensify. When that time comes, it will automatically disintegrate even without the attacks of the blood-seeker beasts. That's good enough. At least it'll give us a year of buffer time, said Lu Wuchang. That's right. With this 1 year, we will be able to find a way to completely seal the entire valley, agreed Fan Qi. No matter what, we can put this matter aside now. Huang Xinghai clapped his hands and grinned. I believe there's nothing else for me here, right? No, thank you for your help, old Huang, said Gu Zhanlin. You're welcome. Huang Xinghai waved his hand. Since there's nothing else, I'll make a move first. With that, he soared into the sky and flew into the distance. I have to go too, said Buqing in a low voice. This matter needs to be reported to the capital to the head supervisor and the others. Let's go together, Su Jingxing agreed. All right. Buqing nodded. The two of them pushed off their toes and charged into the sky. Hoo! Hoo! The sound of rushing wind echoed in his ears. Su Jingxing and Buqing headed straight for Qinghe City against the strong winds. Suddenly, Su Jingxing stopped and sent a voice transmission with his true energy. Envoy Bu, go ahead first. I have some matters to attend to. All right, we'll meet again next time, replied Buqing before continuing to fly forward. Su Jingxing remained in the air. Moments later, he took out Thunderbolt and enlarged it. Stepping on it, he flew to the left and swiftly increased his speed. Double sonic speed, triple sonic speed, quadruple sonic speed, sextuple sonic speed. He pushed to the fastest speed in one go. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the horizon. Swish! 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 3 figures appeared where Su Jingxing had stopped after he disappeared. They looked at each other as they stared at Su Jingxing's tracks. What should we do? Young General is way too fast. A man in his 30s scratched his head and exclaimed. Kong Xiaoyu, can you not address him so cordially? It's still unknown whether this person is qualified to be our young general, sneered Zhou Leng. At least in terms of speed, he is qualified. Kong Xiaoyu grinned. Do you look at speed when looking for a young general? Xiao Yuanfang was speechless. There's clearly something wrong with this Li Jing. The human skin mask on his face is very advanced. If it wasn't for little Duan's special talent, ordinary people wouldn't have discovered it. He deliberately disguised himself like this. Putting everything else aside, his true identity is definitely not simple. Not simple. Heh, can it be more complicated than ours? Kong Xiaoyu disagreed. This person has inherited the Sisui Horn Dragon and swore on his soul to protect the Yu nation for 100 years. No matter what his identity is, he is qualified to be our young general. You. Besides, interrupted Kong Xiaoyu. If we don't follow this young general who has inherited the Sisui Horn Dragon, do we join the Changyang Prefecture army and obey the Xia family's orders? The Yu nation is run by the cabinet now, not the Xia family, said Xiao Yuanfang irritably. Same thing. Kong Xiaoyu waved his hand and said, to put it nicely, it's the cabinet. A decision is made after all the ministers have a discussion. In reality, isn't it a group of people who gather together because of benefits? Don't tell me you didn't know what these ministers are like before we went into hibernation. Zhou Leng and Xiao Yuanfang remained silent. I believe all of you still remember how the general died back then, said Kong Xiaoyu calmly. He continued, if not for those corrupt ministers in the imperial court, would the general have died so early? Would we have been forced to seal ourselves? Zhou Leng and Xiao Yuanfang became even quieter. Kong Xiaoyu exhaled and went on, of course, what's in the past is already in the past. If we keep harping on it, it will only make things worse for ourselves. It wasn't easy for us to wake up and come to a new era 400 years later. Even if we don't follow the young general, we can still find something for ourselves to do. In any case, I won't join the military and listen to a group of profit-driven people. Especially the Golden Qin family. They're still active today. With the Qin family's background, do you think that none of the members in the cabinet are from the Qin family? Xiao Yuanfang and Zhou Leng were even more speechless. The Golden Qin family had been sworn enemies of the Flying Lion army for more than 400 years. Even after so many years, the Golden Qin family was still a top faction in the Yu nation. If they joined the prefecture army, would the Golden Qin family not take action? Impossible. You're right. Xiao Yuanfang sighed and said, unless we disband, following the young general is the best choice. The young general who swore on his soul to protect the Yu nation also needs us. But to follow the young general, we have to find him first, right? Xiao Yuanfang shrugged. Su Jingxing ran too fast, and they lost him. They didn't even have a chance to speak to him. There's no hurry. Kong Xiaoyu chuckled strangely. It doesn't matter if we can't catch up. We'll get someone to do a divination reading and we'll know where the young general is later. Su Jingxing took a long detour before returning to Qinghe City. He descended to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain and did not know that someone was planning to follow him. But he knew the people following him. The person with a very familiar name, Lord Yuanfang. Xiao Yuanfang. One of the 3 second-grade experts of the Flying Lion army. Apart from Xiao Yuanfang, Su Jingxing also sensed another second-grade expert, Zhou Leng. But Su Jingxing didn't recognize the third person who was tracking him. However, he was most probably one of the 5 third-grade experts. Su Jingxing had no idea why these 3 people were following him. But he assumed it must be related to Lu Chenglong, the rising dragon saber king. After all, Su Jingxing had inherited Lu Chenglong's martial art true intent, the Sisui Horn Dragon, and was now slightly related to Xiao Yuanfang, Zhou Leng, and the others. However, such a relationship was not reliable at all. If anything went wrong, Xiao Yuanfang, Zhou Leng, and the others might even find trouble with Su Jingxing. This was because Su Jingxing had broken into the mausoleum of Prince Qin and destroyed it, indirectly causing Lu Chenglong's physical body to perish. Under such circumstances, Su Jingxing didn't want to interact with them. As for subduing the Flying Lion army and becoming their boss like Lu Chenglong, Su Jingxing had never thought of that. Because it was unrealistic. Lu Chenglong had been dead for more than 400 years. Su Jingxing had merely inherited his martial art true intent. He was neither Lu Chenglong's descendant nor Lu Chenglong's disciple. At most, he was Lu Chenglong's corpse collector. What about Xiao Yuanfang, Zhou Leng, Wan Sanxi, and the rest? Second-grade experts. Which martial artist in the top ranks was not a genius? Geniuses were all proud. How could they take orders from Su Jingxing, a martial artist from a new era who barged into the mausoleum of Prince Qin, and was just lucky enough to inherit his martial art true intent. This martial artist was only in the 3rd grade. It was impossible and unrealistic. In any case, Su Jingxing had never thought about this. He didn't even have any similar thoughts. Therefore, Su Jingxing had no idea what Kong Xiaoyu and the others were planning. After returning home, he washed up and changed his clothes. Su Jingxing took out the function cards he had extracted and counted the gains from this operation. During this exploration of the Crimson Moon Martial Sage's underground palace, the others found nothing, and some even lost their lives. Su Jingxing, however, had gains. A significant amount at that. He checked the cards in a backward order. The first card was extracted from the Bloodseeker Beast King. Holding it in his hand, he read the description. Doppelganger card. Another new card. The function of this card also surprised Su Jingxing greatly. As the name suggested, the doppelganger card meant that after it was unlocked, one could have an additional doppelganger. Doppelgangers, not manifestations. Su Jingxing could condense more than 20 true energy manifestations, but they could only be used as disruptions. Listening, transmitting information, fighting, and so on were completely out of the question. When using true energy manifestations to collect information, Su Jingxing even had to monitor them from a distance. However, doppelgangers were not so troublesome. Or rather, the ability of the doppelganger was the same as Su Jingxing's main body. Eating, sleeping, cultivating, and thinking were all doable. Apart from sharing the same soul, they were completely independent in other aspects. This doppelganger was especially special. Its name was Blood Doppelganger. Perhaps it was because he had extracted it from the Bloodseeker Beast King. The Blood Doppelganger had a powerful ability, and that was to become stronger by absorbing blood elemental essence energy. All flesh and blood lifeforms possessed blood elemental essence energy. The difference between them was that some had more of it, while some had less. For example, a person's blood elemental essence energy was more than 10 times more than that of a chicken. There was no need for the blood doppelganger to cultivate. As long as it continuously absorbed blood elemental essence energy, it could continue to become stronger. As for the method of absorbing blood elemental essence energy, the blood doppelganger was innately equipped with it. Perhaps it was because of the cheat ability. The blood doppelganger could only absorb blood elemental essence energy after death. Simply put, it could only absorb it from corpses. Of course, there was another prerequisite, and that was that there had to be blood in the corpse. The fresh blood that flowed out of the body could be absorbed immediately. After a certain amount of time, it would lose its effect. A corpse that had its blood drained could not be absorbed. This could be seen from the name, blood elemental essence energy. When a person died, their essence energy would naturally dissipate. Even so, this absorption method was very convenient for Su Jingxing. As a member of the crematorium, Su Jingxing could absorb the blood elemental essence energy in corpses every day. The range of absorption was very wide, within a radius of 100 meters. Even if most of the corpses that were sent back to the crematorium were almost drained of blood, Su Jingxing could still follow the corpse collection team to the scene. Therefore, it would not take much effort for the blood doppelganger to become stronger. Su Jingxing didn't know how powerful the blood doppelganger could ultimately become in the end. It was not mentioned in the card's description. As it was a doppelganger, the way to unlock this card was also different from other cards. Su Jingxing had to condense a drop of blood and essence, wrap it with his mental power to touch the card before he could unlock it and obtain the blood doppelganger. Su Jingxing was in no hurry to unlock it. After reading the information, he was pleasantly surprised and emotional for a while before putting down the card. He would unlock it later. He picked up the second card and put it down a moment later. Equipment card. The second last card extracted from a Bloodseeker beast was an equipment card. The reward inside was a mass of blood elemental essence energy. It wasn't blood seeker essence energy, but blood elemental essence energy. The blood elemental essence energy that blood doppelganger just so happened to need. Great! To think that after extraction, the blood seeker essence energy has turned into blood elemental essence energy. Su Jingxing was overjoyed. It was understandable since the blood seeker essence energy was a type of blood elemental essence energy. This was as good as the cheat ability refining the blood seeker essence energy. An equipment card, a mass of blood elemental essence energy. Su Jingxing quickly checked the remaining cards one by one. In the end, he obtained 36 equipment cards, each containing a mass of blood elemental essence energy. He had made a killing. With these 36 masses of blood elemental essence energy, once the blood doppelganger was unlocked, it could probably be raised directly to the middle ranks. In other words, it would possess blood true energy. Once released, blood energy would surge. It was extremely stimulating, explosive, and destructive. If I can kill all the blood-seeker beasts in the valley and extract more than 1,000 drops of blood elemental essence energy to be absorbed and become stronger, how powerful will the blood doppelganger be? Who? He took a deep breath and suppressed his restless mind. Su Jingxing couldn't contain his excitement. Calm down, calm down. The blood-seeker beasts are sealed in the valley. With the array formation guarding it, we can't even enter, let alone kill them. I should take my time to strengthen my blood doppelganger. There's no hurry, no hurry. Su Jingxing took deep breaths and exhaled. After a long time, he regained his composure. Other than the equipment card, there were other cards. For example, a deduction card with 5 deduction chances. Every deduction of this deduction card had a 50% success rate. Su Jingxing was very satisfied with this probability and number of chances. Clearly, the deceased he had extracted was very talented when he was alive. Not only did he create a lot of martial arts, they were also very powerful. Only such people could give deduction cards with many chances and high probabilities of success. Another example was a first-grade expert, the leader leading the Ghost Ride team this time. The person who had escaped the underground palace with great difficulty and was ganged up on by Wan Sansi, Xiao Yuanfang, and Zhou Ling. Su Jingxing extracted a skill card from him. It did not contain a secret martial art, but a secret ability. Myriad transformations. A first-grade expert had rich true essence and martial art true intent that could be separated from the physical body. It was possible to extract all kinds of amazing martial arts and abilities from them. The myriad transformations secret ability was extremely valuable. It was unique, efficient, and magical. As because it could change the skin color of the human body, cause bones to shrink or extend, hair to grow, internal organs to move around, and so on. A man could even turn into a woman. Of course, not a real woman, but someone who had shrunk the male sexual organs into the abdomen. Most importantly, it could also change a martial artist's breathing, aura and vitality. This was extremely important. A person's appearance could be changed using masks and disguises, but his breathing, aura, and vitality were extremely difficult to change. Even Su Jingxing, who cultivated the ghost python breath-holding technique, could only restrain his aura instead of changing it. However, the secret ability, myriad transformations, could really transform a person entirely. During the transformation process, true energy would be consumed. The more changes there were, the more energy was expended. Once the transformation was successful, it would be fixed in the future. Even if one died, he would not return to his original appearance. This also meant that the subsequent maintenance after the transformation would not require internal force or true energy. With this, Su Jingxing would no longer have to worry about being recognized when he used his aliases. Yang Jian, Jiang Zia, Li Jing, Guest Elder Lin. He could turn into whoever he wanted to be. Great! Holding the card, Su Jingxing experienced the mysteries of the information. After a while, he put the card away and set it aside. 6 of the remaining cards were true energy cards. They contained 11, 13, 15, 18, 16, and 12 years of true energy cultivation respectively. None of them were less than 10 years. Without a doubt, the corpses that these cards were extracted from were all in the 4th grade. Many people had died in the battle to stop the Bloodseeker beasts from leaving the valley. Su Jingxing didn't pay attention to who they were, but he figured that they were mainly from the prefecture army. He kept all 6 true energy cards as spares. Su Jingxing held the last card in his hand and read the information. Divine Defense Card. What card is this? Su Jingxing held on to the card with a strange expression. The last card was extracted from the corpse of the Crimson Moon martial sage, Yu Donglu. Back then, when he was extracting it, he received a notification that it was a 1,000-year great return remains. This meant that Yu Dongluo's physical body was also covered in true essence, which was why it could remain intact for 1,000 years. Yet the card extracted was a strange divine defense card. Su Jingxing extracted a transcendent body card from Lu Chenglong's corpse. When it came to Yu Donglu, a divine defense card. The function of this divine defense card was very strange. After unlocking it, it would stay in one sea of consciousness and be nourished through soul power before finally hatching an essence soul. Essence soul. What is that? Su Jingxing could understand the soul. What was an essence soul then? Could it be a soul-related ultimate art? After some thought, Su Jingxing decided to temporarily treat it as a soul-type trump card. Yu Donglu was a transcendent grade martial sage. Other than knowing that he could live for 360 years, Su Jingxing didn't know about any other abilities of his. But he figured they shouldn't be bad and were most likely related to the soul. This was why he had extracted the divine defense card. With this in mind, Su Jingxing unlocked the card. Whoosh! A white light flashed before his eyes. Before Su Jingxing could see clearly, a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. No, it couldn't be said to be a thought or a message. Su Jingxing couldn't figure out what it was. It was located in his sea of consciousness, motionless. Strands of soul power automatically enveloped it. Su Jingxing could not sense anything for a while. Based on his intuition, he was certain that it was related to his physical body, soul, mind, and will. At first glance, it seemed to be his own martial art true intent. Su Jingxing refused to believe it. He manifested his martial art true intent and sensed the changes in it. It was indeed closely related to one's physical body, soul, mind, and will. They guided one another and blended together. Apart from that, there was also a mysterious force involved. This power came from the void. Yes, the void. It was not worldly energy or the power of nature, but an endless, boundless void. The power that came from the void penetrated deep into his sea of consciousness. Under the nourishment of his soul power, some unknown change occurred. Finally, it hatched an essence soul. What is this essence soul? It's probably not as simple as a soul-related ultimate art. Su Jingxing retracted his martial art true intent and fell into deep thought. After a long while, he suppressed his thoughts and sensed the changes in it. According to Su Jingxing's current soul power reserves, it would take about a month to hatch an essence soul. If his soul power increased within this month, the required duration would be shortened. Of the 2 ways to increase soul power, other than using true fluid to nourish the soul, other heavenly treasures were not easy to obtain. For this, Su Jingxing didn't think too much about it and put it aside for the time being. Instead, he took out the skill card and unlocked the secret ability, Myriad Transformations. He first familiarized himself with the transformation method. Moments later, he removed the human skin mask from his face and expended his true energy to begin his first transformation. Crack. 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 His bones shifted, his organs shifted, and his skin propped up. As his hair turned long and white, his facial features changed bit by bit. In less than 5 minutes, Su Jingxing completed his first transformation. He turned into an old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion. Jiang Zia. Walking to the mirror, Su Jingxing looked at Jiang Zia and thought to himself. Amazing, if he didn't know that this was his own self, Su Jingxing wouldn't have recognized him. The Jiang Zia in the mirror was nothing like Su Jingxing's true form. Not to mention his breathing and aura, even his eyes had changed. With such a level of transformation, as long as one did not use the same martial art, others would not associate them together. In short, cool. Crack. Crack. He continued to shift his bones and change his hair. Moments later, Su Jingxing transformed into Yang Jian, Uncle Jiao's, younger version of Erlang was stunningly handsome. Crack. Crack. He continued to expend his true energy and transformed into Li Jing. This time, the yellow-faced burly man's appearance was clearly revealed. Like the same for others, it was impossible to determine whether it was real or fake. Su Jingxing transformed into all 3 aliases. He memorized their breathings, auras, facial features, and figures. Finally, Su Jingxing returned to his original state. As for guest Elder Lin, Su Jingxing did not plan to use him anymore. He took some time to get used to his body. After resting for a while, he took out the doppelganger card. Following the steps, Su Jingxing condensed a drop of blood and essence and wrapped it with his mental power to touch the card. Swish! A dazzling blood glow suddenly blossomed. When Su Jingxing got a clear look, a blood-colored body that was the same height as him appeared before him. This body had no facial features, and beneath the blood-red skin, there were no organs inside. Su Jingxing could clearly sense everything about it with his thoughts. Including 1. Vincent Jiao, the actor who portrayed Erlang in the 2005 version of Lotus Lantern. Looking at himself. Although the blood doppelganger did not have eyes yet, its unique senses allowed it to see the outside world the same. Su Jingxing was standing face to face with it, looking right into its eyes. This feels weird. Without looking further, Su Jingxing took out the equipment card, unlocked it, and obtained a mass of blood elemental essence energy. Just as it floated in his palm. Swish! Without any movement, the blood doppelganger guided an invisible force to wrap around the blood elemental essence energy and enter its body. Immediately, the inside of the doppelganger without any organs or bones stirred. Like a surging river, ripples formed. Even though it quickly calmed down, Su Jingxing could sense that the blood doppelganger had gained an additional force. This force was different from internal force and true energy, but more like pure blood energy. However, upon closer inspection, he discovered that it was more condensed, thick, and domineering than pure blood energy. It was indeed domineering, though Su Jingxing might have sensed wrongly. After adapting for a while, Su Jingxing took out the second equipment card and unlocked it to obtain the blood elemental essence energy. This time, the blood doppelganger was in no hurry to absorb it directly into its body. Instead, its facial features moved, producing eyes, nose, and mouth. Then, the essence energy entered through its mouth. After which, it slowly sensed the changes after the blood elemental essence entered its body. The most important thing was to absorb it. Su Jingxing realized that the blood doppelganger was absorbing not just in one area, but using the entire body. It was an energy doppelganger to begin with. Once a mass of blood elemental essence energy entered, it was immediately dispersed and split into countless wisps that were absorbed and digested by the entire body, strengthening its blood body. Therefore, the blood doppelganger's strength would increase with every mass of blood elemental essence energy it absorbed. As for blood true energy, it couldn't use it yet. Even if it did, it wouldn't be true energy. When it had truly absorbed the blood elemental essence energy, Su Jingxing realized that this doppelganger was not simple. Previously, He thought that after absorbing too much blood elemental essence energy, the essence energy could evolve into true energy. Just like how martial artists first cultivated internal force before converting internal force to true energy. Now, he realized that this path did not fit the blood doppelganger's way of becoming stronger. Apart from having great strength, even though the blood energy fluctuations circulated by the blood doppelganger were very similar to true energy, it was actually more outstanding than true energy. When the time came, impersonating true energy would be no problem, but the power unleashed would be even stronger than that from true energy. Because the blood doppelganger was an energy body. Su Jingxing came up with a thought. Whoosh! 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 The blood doppelganger suddenly shrunk, turning from a human into a sphere. Swoosh! 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 The sphere continued to shrink, becoming smaller and smaller. From the size of a basketball to the size of a volleyball, from the size of a volleyball to the size of an egg at the end, it was only the size of a table tennis ball. How big was a table tennis ball? He could easily hold it and carry it with him, let alone store it in his palm space. Su Jingxing no longer had to worry about being discovered. The Bloodseeker Beast King is awesome. The Bloodseeker Beast King most likely also had similar abilities. Its massive body could shrink into a blood-colored ball that floated around, impossible to guard against. Unfortunately, it had been beaten back into the Bloodseeker essence energy at the very beginning. That the blood doppelganger had inherited this ability was naturally a convenience for Su Jingxing. Swish! 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 Under his control, the table tennis ball-sized clone quickly enlarged and returned to its human form. Su Jingxing unlocked the remaining equipment cards and obtained masses of blood elemental essence energy. The blood doppelganger devoured them one by one, absorbing and strengthening itself in an orderly manner. When he unlocked all the equipment cards and all the blood elemental essence energy had been absorbed, Su Jingxing controlled his blood doppelganger to normalize its skin, facial features, and hair. In other words, it was like a normal person. It put on a set of a shirt and pants. Without circulating its blood energy, it was no different from an ordinary person. Under his mental control, Su Jingxing could even easily simulate his heartbeat and breathing. Pa! The blood doppelganger punched out with all its might. Su Jingxing's main body received the punch and carefully sensed it. It was almost equivalent to the strength of an ordinary 6th-grade martial artist with about 20 years of true energy cultivation. Bam! His main body punched out and smashed the doppelganger's head. Bang! 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 With 3 consecutive punches, he destroyed the doppelganger's body. Feeling pain, his doppelganger collapsed and turned into a ball of blood-colored liquid. Su Jingxing sensed the situation. It was injured, mainly due to the dissipation of blood energy. The pain did not come from his body, but from his mind. It was a pricking pain in the consciousness. Even so, this experiment made Su Jingxing ecstatic. Immortal. In a sense, the blood doppelganger was an immortal body. As long as there was sufficient blood energy, the blood clone could recover no matter how many times it exploded. Of course, every time it exploded, the strength it possessed post-recovery would decrease slightly. This was normal. The necessary expenditure could not be avoided. Su Jingxing was more concerned about how much expenditure was required for each of such similar situations. For example, how much would it consume if it was burnt in a fire? How much would it consume when submerged in water? And similarly, for electrocution. Su Jingxing immediately experimented with any possible encounters. He tried everything he could think of before stopping. His face lit up with joy. Burning, drowning, burying, electrocution. Su Jingxing committed all the possibilities he came up with and expenditure data he obtained from experimenting to memory. These were the key to immortality. It wasn't that the blood doppelganger was truly indestructible in a fire. If the temperature was high enough, the blood doppelganger would also turn into nothingness if it burned for too long. The same went for drowning and electrocution. Su Jingxing's experiments were meant to grasp the extent. As long as it did not exceed a certain extent, the blood doppelganger would not die. An immortal doppelganger? TSK, even a martial sage wouldn't have this ability, right? Su Jingxing was overjoyed. Speaking of martial sages, Su Jingxing suddenly thought of Yu Donglu. Previously, in the underground palace, he was either busy exploring or intercepting the blood-seeker beasts. Now that he had calmed down and thought about it carefully, he realized that there was something wrong with Yu Donglu. More accurately, a questionable point. Being the first to bear the brunt, since the underground palace was the place to seal the blood-seeker beasts, why would there still be a key to it? On the 3 stone tablets, there were a breathing technique, a military manual, and a heavenly secret art. Why did he set them to manifest the seal location and open the entrance to the underground palace? Yu Donglu had guarded the seal with his own body. That was indeed noble and admirable. But why did he leave behind 3 stone tablets? Wouldn't it be better to seal off the underground palace eternally? Is he still alive? Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat. Su Jingxing didn't know what abilities a martial sage had. No one except a martial sage would know. At the martial sage level, it did not matter whether one had a physical body or not. Associating this with the suspicious points in the legacy underground palace, Yu Donglu, this martial sage, might really be alive. TSS. At this thought, Su Jingxing sucked in a cold breath of air. Green Cloud Mountain Range. In a dark mountain stream. Who? A black shadow suddenly flashed. With a splat, blood splattered in the air. Pada. The sound of heavy objects falling to the ground could be heard. A thin forest wolf lay in a pool of blood, its limbs twitching. In the wolf's open eyes, the last thing it saw was a blood-colored mutated beast walking towards it with a disgusted and greedy gaze. Maybe Yu Donglu is still alive. TSK. After a brief moment of shock, Su Jingxing regained his composure and fell into deep thought. If Yu Donglu isn't dead, then everything in the underground palace might have been his doing. Including leaving behind the legacy stone tablets. That was also intentional. Even releasing the blood-seeker beasts was within Yu Donglu's calculations. This fellow. Shaking his head, Su Jingxing suppressed the thought to dig deeper. No matter what, the blood-seeker beasts were now under control. If Su Jingxing could think of the suspicious points of this operation, so would others. As always, martial artists in the top ranks were almost all geniuses. No one was a fool. After returning, calming down and thinking back to this operation, they would surely be able to spot the suspicious points just as Su Jingxing had. Therefore, Su Jingxing had no business in what Yu Donglu was plotting. The Martial Suppression Office, the Prefecture Army, and even the Yu Nation's cabinet would investigate. The most important thing before Su Jingxing was how to gather enough blood elemental essence energy to make the blood doppelganger stronger. Currently, its strength of a 6th-grade martial artist was very powerful to ordinary people. But in the eyes of 4th-grade and 3rd-grade martial artists, it was nothing. It was too little and too slow to collect blood elemental essence energy in the crematorium or at murder scenes. After much thought, he decided it was better to go to the slaughterhouse. There was very little blood elemental essence energy in chickens and ducks, but livestock possessed a significant amount. Of course, the best way was to kill the blood-seeker beasts and extract a large amount of blood elemental essence energy directly. Unfortunately, after the blood-seeker beasts were killed, they would dissipate into blood-seeker essence energy, which the other blood-seeker beasts would absorb and become stronger. In the situation where he didn't know how to refine the blood-seeker essence energy, killing the blood-seeker beasts would instead increase the threat to his safety. Moreover, the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array wasn't that easy to break. Su Jingxing wanted to try breaking the array formation, but he had no idea how the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array operated. He had no idea where to start. Troops from the prefecture army would certainly be stationed around the valley now. All kinds of surveillance equipment, fighter jets, and cannons were set up all around the valley as ambushes. The experts in charge were at least in the 3rd grade. This was to prevent the bloodseeker beasts from escaping and also to prevent outsiders from barging into the valley. It was unrealistic to get into contact with the complete 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array at this time. As for approaching Pu Mingyue to learn about array formations, even more unrealistic. If he really went to look for Pu Mingyue, he would be confessing that he had ill intentions towards the bloodseeker beasts in the valley. Su Jingxing didn't want to be targeted by the Martial Suppression Office, the Prefecture Army, or even the 100-Flower Valley because of this. I might as well take my time to learn how to break the array formation. I can go to the Xiantian University Library to look for relevant information. The Myriad Treasures Court's database was bigger and more complete, but no one knew where it was. The Xiantian University Library was different. Other than the ones on the top level, most of the books could be borrowed. Although only Xiantian University students could borrow them, many people outside the university could too. For example, the upper echelons of the major factions could borrow them just by giving notice. Su Jingxing didn't intend to approach anyone else to use their connections. It's just becoming student of Xiantian University. Simple. He made up his mind. At night, Su Jingxing went out and flew in the air. He first found a slaughterhouse and released his blood doppelganger and shrank it to the size of a table tennis ball. Controlled by Su Jingxing's mind, it entered the slaughterhouse and hid in a corner, absorbing the blood doppelganger that leaked out after the pigs, sheep, chickens, ducks, geese were slaughtered. Because there weren't many of them, coupled with the fresh blood that splattered out during the slaughter, no one noticed when strands of blood elemental essence energy were absorbed. Of course, just in case, when the blood doppelganger absorbed the blood doppelganger, it would always move under the tables or in the corners. It specifically avoided the surveillance cameras to ensure that it wouldn't be discovered. As such, wisps of blood elemental essence energy were guided by an invisible force and absorbed by the blood doppelganger. Little by little, they accumulated. On this side, Su Jingxing's main body headed straight for Xiantian University. He entered the campus through the air and found a rooftop to land on. His perception spread and looked down at the ground, even listening to the situation in the building beneath his feet. Moments later, he found a target. In the next moment, his figure flashed as he dashed towards a small forest. He knocked a boy who was swinging his arms and legs. No, accurately speaking, he was secretly practicing martial arts. Then, accompanied by cracks, his body moved and shrunk, transforming into the appearance of this boy. He changed into the other party's clothes, picked up his student pass, carried the boy, and left the small forest. From the sky, he rushed out of the school and returned to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain. He left the boy at home, covered his face, stuffed his mouth, and tied him up with rope to make sure there was no future trouble. Then, he returned to Xiantian University and entered the library. After arriving upstairs, he followed the directions and headed straight for the array formations area. Naturally, the books on array formations that were placed on the bookshelves for others to borrow wouldn't go too deep. Su Jingxing didn't have high hopes of finding them downstairs either. Pretending to be a student of Xiantian University was just making it more convenient for him to work. After making a round, he did not find ancient manuals on breaking array formations that he wanted. Su Jingxing decisively went up to the top floor. He restrained his aura to the maximum and released his perception to listen to the movements of the guards on the top level. It turned out that the one guarding the top level tonight was not the 4th grade director, Liang Yiqing, but a 5th grade and 2 6th grade martial artists. The 3 of them were stationed at the entrance of the top level. After confirming that there was no one else, Su Jingxing immediately appeared and exposed himself in the vision of the 2 6th grade martial artists guarding outside. "What are you doing here?" One of the 6th-grade martial artists left his seat and stepped forward to stop Su Jingxing. He warned, "The top level is not open. Don't you know?" Before the word "that" could leave his mouth, his entire body fell to the ground with a plop. He was covered in sweat and couldn't move or speak. Suppression. Su Jingxing directly mobilized 300 years of true energy cultivation to form a terrifying suppression that covered half of the top level. Not only were the two 6th-grade martial artists suppressed on the spot, the 5th-grade martial artist keeping guard inside was also instantly restrained. All of them collapsed to the ground, unable to move or speak. Su Jingxing did not mobilize 500 years of cultivation because he was afraid of crushing them to death. 300 years of cultivation was just right. Therefore, Su Jingxing coolly walked into the library that he had visited once in front of the three of them to search for books on array formations. Reading rapidly, he walked past the rows of bookshelves quickly. Suddenly, Su Jingxing stopped in his tracks and his gaze fell on a book. He picked up the book and looked at the cover. The Record of Array-Breaking Diagrams. He flipped to the first page and quickly browsed through the content. His eyes lit up. Finally, he found it. This copy of the Record of Array-Breaking Diagrams did not contain any method to break the array formation, nor did it contain any elements of the array formation. There was only a bold and crazy guess, a set of theories. According to the person who wrote this book, all array formations in the world were completed using a basic array formation. Then, targeting this basic array formation, was there also a route of breaking array formations? This route could be made up of several formulas, templates, and proposals. Targeting this point, the author racked his brains and finally came up with a set of theories. A single diagram to break 10,000 array formations. In the Legends of Earth Star, there was a body-tempering expert who could break all techniques with one strength. Relying on pure physical strength, he destroyed the lower ranks, crushed the middle ranks, and wiped out the top ranks with his fist. For thousands of years, there were those who relied on brute force to beat up the lower ranks, and there were also those who crushed the middle ranks. However, there were none who could destroy top-ranked martial artists with their fists. Because once martial art true intent was released, no matter how strong one's physical strength was, they would have to kneel down. Martial art true intent targeted the soul directly. Without a strong soul, no matter how strong his physical body was tempered, he could only watch helplessly. Even transcendent body martial artists and bloodline martial artists needed powerful souls. Therefore, breaking all techniques with one strength was a legend. Now someone wanted to break 10,000 array formations with a single diagram, that was also wishful thinking. Array formations were ever-changing, especially maze arrays and trapping arrays. They were changing almost every moment. Under such circumstances, how could one break 10,000 array formations with a single diagram? Yet, this record of array-breaking diagrams had done it. At the very least, in theory, the record of array-breaking diagrams had done it. It could break all array formations that were developed using basic array formations as their foundation. Of course, the reason why theories were theories was because of its imagination, breakthrough, and creativity. There was a reasonable outline and framework. To others, this framework was just for reading and referencing purposes. It was unrealistic to materialize it. But Su Jingxing was different. He had the deduction card. It was even a deduction card with 5 deduction chances, with a 50% probability of success each time. The complete theory of the record of array-breaking diagrams could become real after being deducted in his hands. If this were to really happen, Su Jingxing wouldn't even need to fear 90% of the array formations in the future. 90% of the array formations in the world were extensions of basic array formations. The 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array also happened to be one of them. So, Su Jingxing took the after record of array-breaking diagrams without standing on ceremony, turned around, and walked out of the library. He left leisurely in front of the 3 guards. He went down from the top level and entered the stairwell. After avoiding the cameras, he retracted his suppression, opened the window, and soared into the sky. Back at his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, he picked up the boy who was still unconscious and sent him back to the small forest where he was knocked out. He changed their clothes and returned his student pass. With a series of cracks, Jingxing transformed back into himself. Hearing the sound of movement in the distance, he tapped his toes and flew into the night sky. Back home again, Jingxing took out the record of array-breaking diagrams. He first memorized all the contents and simulated them in his mind. Then, he unlocked the deduction card and began deducing. The first time, failure. The second attempt still failed. The third attempt, still a failure. The fourth time. Success. The record of array-breaking diagrams that could break 10,000 array formations with a single diagram had actually been deduced. With one remaining deduction opportunity, Jingxing decisively used it on the Heaven Origin volume of the 3 Origins Saber Art. Even though the Earth Origin volume wasn't complete, with only half of it available, the ability in the Earth Origin volume to mobilize all the energy around one's body could also be done using martial art True Intent. By consuming soul power and activating martial art True Intent, one could control the power of the universe to fight. This had the same effect as the Earth Origin volume of the 3 Origins Saber Art. In fact, it was even stronger. This was because when the martial art True Intent guided the power of the universe, the range of impact was even wider. The Heaven Origin volume was different. It was a mental killer move, which was exactly what Jingxing needed. Currently, the Heaven Trampling Elephant could only defend passively and could not be released externally. If he could successfully deduce the Heaven Origin volume of the 3 Origins Saber Art, he would be able to make up for this weakness. Using soul power as a saber to kill invisibly. The last remaining deduction opportunity was used on the Heaven Origin volume. And it turned out. He succeeded halfway. He deduced half of the Heaven Origin volume of the 3 Origins Saber Art. Jingxing tried to comprehend it and realized that he could also cultivate this half of the Heaven Origin volume. It was mainly because he had enough soul power. Those with average soul power could not cultivate half of the Heaven Origin volume. With that, Jingxing happily took out the martial arts practice card he had prepared earlier. This function card with 3 years of practice time was perfect for cultivating the Heaven Origin volume of the 3 Origins Saber Art. He unlocked the card and circulated his soul power in his sea of consciousness. Jingxing began practicing his saber techniques in the martial arts practice space. From time to time, he would condense his soul power into a saber and slash soundlessly through the air. When the martial arts practice space collapsed, Jingxing had already cultivated the Heaven Origin volume of the 3 Origins Saber Art to the advanced level. This was already the end because there was only half of the volume. If he wanted to increase his control, he would have to complete the remaining half. However, the deduction card was not that easy to obtain. Jingxing was already very satisfied that the Heaven Origin volume had reached the advanced level. This level of control was enough for Jingxing to transform his soul power into a saber and release it externally to kill enemies. As for how far the distance could go and how lethal it was, he didn't know. Because there was no target. He couldn't just find a random person to kill from a distance and conduct an experiment, could he? Jingxing wouldn't do such an unethical thing. If he really wanted to experiment, he would do so on bloodseeker beasts. After successfully deducing the record of array-breaking diagrams, Jingxing decided to make a trip back to the valley. Of course, it wasn't to undo the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array, but to enter it. Find a few lone blood elemental essence energy and kill them to extract their blood elemental essence energy. Just do it. The next night, just as the sky turned dark, Jingxing, who had gone to the slaughterhouse to pick up his blood doppelganger, took off from the back mountain. With 6-fold sonic speed, he headed straight for the depths of the Green Cloud Mountain range. As he approached the valley shrouded by the giant lotus, he descended from the sky and circulated the ghost python breath-holding technique to its limits. He released his perception and enveloped his surroundings, silently approaching the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array. As expected, the prefecture army had set up 3 defensive circles around the valley. The surveillance equipment had not been transported here in time. Only some cameras had been installed in the woods for simple surveillance. Su Jingxing easily avoided the surveillance cameras of such level and passed through the woods silently, arriving in front of the translucent screen. Through the screen, he saw that the blood-seeker beasts in the valley had stopped their rampage after a day and night. They had dispersed and were scattered in the valley. 1,000 blood-seeker beasts sounded like a lot, but when scattered in the huge valley, they were inconspicuous. In Su Jingxing's field of vision, he only saw 7 blood-seeker beasts, lying under trees and in the pits in twos. Without the stimulation of blood energy, the blood-seeker beasts were actually very lazy. This was good news for Su Jingxing. After scanning his surroundings with his perception and confirming that no one was coming, Su Jingxing began to search for the entrance of the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array according to the successfully deduced record of array-breaking diagrams. This entrance was not a real door, but a circulation route. In a situation where one could not crack the array formation or forcefully break it, only by finding the route could one figure out the path and finally enter the array formation. Throughout the entire process, relying on the successfully deduced record of array-breaking diagrams, Su Jingxing only took half an hour to successfully enter the entrance. If there were outsiders present, they would have seen Su Jingxing take 3 steps left, 4 steps right, then jump 5 steps, and finally disappear. It was as if he had fallen into the void and vanished. However, in reality, after Su Jingxing entered the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array according to the record of array-breaking diagrams, he retreated, moved left, and right according to the routes of the 8 trigrams array. When he stopped, that was when he had actually entered the array. To outsiders, it would seem like Su Jingxing had walked out of thin air. This was the wonder of array formations. Without a deep understanding, it was impossible to understand the mysteries within. Of course, Su Jingxing didn't learn much from experience either. This was because he did not know how to set up array formations. All he knew was how to break them. The record of array-breaking diagrams was only equivalent to a master key. It could unlock tens of thousands of locks. But he did not know how to create locks. Opening locks and creating locks were essentially 2 different matters. Anyone with a key could do the former. As such, Su Jingxing did not have any pride or arrogance. After entering the array formation, he calmly moved quickly to avoid being discovered by the people outside the screen. After finding a spot to hide, he began to search for lone blood-seeker beasts. He spread out his perception and scanned the area to find his target. It was a blood-seeker beast lying in the collapsed hole in the ground. Su Jingxing released his blood doppelganger just in case. Then, his main body and doppelganger dived in at the same time. Buzz! Mobilizing 500 years of true energy cultivation, he formed a terrifying pressure that enveloped the blood-seeker beasts. Swish! Soul power transformed into a blade that attacked the lazy blood-seeker beasts from a distance. Both acts were carried out at the same time. The blood-seeker beast didn't even let out a groan before it lost consciousness. Card +1. The moment the notification flashed, Su Jingxing controlled his true energy to envelop the blood-seeker beast that had dispersed into a large mass of blood-seeker essence energy, preventing it from being absorbed by the other blood-seeker beasts. Unexpectedly, at this moment, whoosh! Under the guidance of an invisible force, the blood-seeker essence energy trapped in the true energy was absorbed into the blood doppelganger's body. TSK. In his shock, Su Jingxing cursed inwardly. Oh no, oh no, oh no. This is it. The immortal doppelganger that I obtained with great difficulty is actually going to be finished in a day. Once it absorbs the blood-seeker essence energy, this doppelganger will immediately be corroded and go out of control. Even if Su Jingxing was indignant, he would have to destroy it. Wise. Huh. Su Jingxing, who was grumbling inwardly, suddenly froze. No. Something is wrong. The blood doppelganger wasn't corroded. After absorbing the blood-seeker essence energy, the terrifying heretic power disappeared before it could erupt. To put it accurately, it was dissolved by the blood doppelganger. In the face of the blood doppelganger, the heretic power and nature within the blood-seeker essence energy melted away. The blood doppelganger could actually dissolve the heretic nature and power. No. Not all heretic characteristics and power could be dissolved by the blood doppelganger. Instead, the blood doppelganger could only dissolve heretic characteristics and power that had been mixed into blood energy. The power of blood was the key to the doppelganger. If the blood-seeker essence energy was changed to fire-seeker essence energy or thunder-seeker essence energy, the blood doppelganger would not be able to dissolve its heretic characteristics and power. Instead, it would be corroded and destroyed by the power of flames and lightning. Having figured this out, Su Jingxing was both glad and overjoyed. Since it can absorb the blood-seeker essence energy directly, what else am I afraid of? What else do I have to worry about? The 1,000 blood-seeker beasts here are all energy to become stronger. And I get 2 absorptions from each one. The first time was a direct absorption from the beast and the second absorption was of the blood elemental essence energy from the cards extracted. Great! I've struck gold this time. Deep breaths, suppressing his excitement. After a while, Su Jingxing regained his composure. After the blood doppelganger finished absorbing the blood-seeker essence energy, he quietly left the hole and continued to search for his second blood-seeker beasts. Although the blood doppelganger could dissolve the heretic characteristics and power, there was a limit to its ability to do so. If there was too much of both, the blood doppelganger might end up being too full to dissolve them in time. Instead, it would be corroded, and that would be no fun. Therefore, to be safe, it was better to deal with one blood-seeker beast at a time. Soon, the second blood-seeker beast was found. Su Jingxing approached it and avoided the attention of the other blood-seeker beasts. He first released his suppression to only cover the blood-seeker beast and immobilize it. Then, he transformed his soul power into a saber and attacked from a distance. He quietly destroyed the beast and extracted a card. Then, he swiftly moved close and gathered the blood doppelganger for the blood doppelganger to absorb and dissolve. Moments later, everything was settled. Su Jingxing left and continued to search for the next lone blood-seeker beast. The third, fourth, fifth. Soon, more than 10 blood-seeker beasts were ambushed and killed. The blood doppelganger was strengthened. At this point, Su Jingxing did not continue. Instead, he came out of the 9 Lotus 8 trigrams array and left the periphery of the valley. He found a quiet mountain and sat cross-legged to rest and recover his soul power. He could recover essence energy by consuming essence energy pills. But not soul power. Every time it was exhausted, he would have to rest for half a day to recover. Su Jingxing rested for a day here. In any case, it was difficult to take action during the day. The surveillance personnel at the periphery of the valley would carry out checks. At night, when his soul power was fully recovered, he could continue. So, 30 blood-seeker beasts, 50 blood-seeker beasts, 100 blood-seeker beasts. 200, 300, 500. During the day, he would rest. At night, he would enter the array formation and launch sneak attacks, ambushes, and assassinations. Over and over again, he would subdue the blood-seeker beasts, and absorb them. As his blood doppelganger absorbed more and more power, it became stronger and stronger. As a result, the true energy in Su Jingxing's dantian was also rapidly tempered to stimulate an increase in his soul power. With the increase in his soul power, he could condense it into 3 blades at a time to kill 3 blood-seeker beasts. As a result, the speed of his operation increased. Half of the blood-seeker beasts were devoured and disappeared. Finally, It caught the attention of the prefecture army outside the array formation. What's going on? Why are there so few Bloodseeker beasts? Did they run back to the underground palace? Gu Zhanlin flew in the air and looked down at the valley with a grim expression. I'm not sure. A middle-aged man beside him looked equally solemn. Half of the Bloodseeker beasts are gone. Something must have happened. We don't know what the problem is, and we can't investigate it. Gu Zhanlin was a little frustrated. If these beasts disappear for no reason, I don't know how big of a trouble they'll cause. D***, where did they go? Perhaps they didn't escape, but returned to the underground palace like you said. Xiao Yuanfang pondered. Half of the Flying Lion army had also remained outside the valley and cooperated with the prefecture army to guard the array formation. Xiao Yuanfang was also concerned about the sudden loss of half of the Bloodseeker beasts. If such a terrifying mutated beast were to escape and enter the city, it would be a disaster. A catastrophe that no one wanted to see. Once a catastrophe broke out, who knew how many people would die? Therefore, they had to get to the bottom of this. What should we do? If there's really no other way, let's go to head Manhwa and get her to open the array formation. Gu Zhanlin said through gritted teeth while feeling conflicted. No. Are you crazy?